Last session, we spoke about conflict related thing, managing conflict, one of the important tasks of project manager when we look at the people domain. So these 5 sessions are done, and today we are talking about the stakeholder, collaborating with the stakeholders. So in the PMP exam, if you are aware that we have something called PMP exam content outline. So if you are getting excited and getting knowing about PMP recently, you can directly visit pmi.org, go for PMP certification page. There you can download exam content outline. It's a PDF document which contains the task which PMI expect a project manager to perform. And these are the tasks they use for evaluating your performance in the PMP exam as well. And we are using in this series of video, initially at least, these tasks as a reference because they will directly get converted into the questions in your PMP exam. So today we are talking about a task called collaborate with stakeholders. As you probably have an awareness that these tasks are grouped under 3 domains: people, process, and business. And you also have a percentage distribution for PMP exam. So we know the people domain gives us 42% of the exam, and there are 14 tasks. The first one task we did in our previous session, which was about conflict. We are doing the second task today, the task number 9, collaborate with the stakeholder. All these 14 tasks will get converted into a 42% of the marks. So roughly one can say that 4 to 8 questions may come from one task. The further division per task is not published by PMI, but yes, minimum we can expect 4 questions coming from one task in the PMP exam. So they are important. So collaborate with the stakeholder has a sub elements talking about evaluate stakeholder needs, focusing on alignment and building trust and influence with the stakeholder. We'll go one by one in these 3 topics. So first thing, who are the stakeholders? So yeah, I am sure you must have heard of the definition of stakeholders. Anybody who is interested or perceived to be interested or impacted. If I'm impacted or I think I am impacted by the project is the stakeholder. That's a definition, and that's a nice way of looking at it. I try to take a little long path. We see that how this whole project comes into the existence, and then we think that, okay, who could be the people who have an impact or effect of the project, and how do we recognize them? So as usually we discussed previously that there could be a 2 paths for initiating the project. One path is an internal path, like your organization has a business idea, they work on a business case, and then the project get initiated. If that's a path, who is the one who is getting a business idea? Who is the one who has a need or opportunity in hand? I need to know that. And this need and opportunity got converted into numbers, and somebody thought that this is a profitable thing. And based on that, they triggered to our PMO or a portfolio group, and they triggered the project. So people who are involved here are definitely interested in what we are doing. So I can say that the people who are funding the project, the people who are evaluating the effectiveness or a business case of the project, they want to keep track of that business case as the project is going under execution and further into implementation. All they have money and interest in this particular project. So they are stakeholder, people who belongs to this direction. Another set of people, if I talk about initiating stage, if you are doing a project against a contract, then you have a client, you might have worked with a client, your sales team might have worked with a client, and they might have come up with a contract, between sales team and your client, and they might have given to your PMO group to start the project, or your portfolio group, or a delivery group, whatever is there. So people who are involved here, your client, your sales people who have negotiated the deal, who have came up with the payment term, all have an interest in your project. So we can say the project exists for the reason, and that reason is owned by some people. They want to do something, they are willing to invest that particular money, and all of these people are interested in knowing how their money is getting utilized and what kind of benefit they can expect from the project. So you get good number of stakeholders, the parties who are impacted or perceived impacted by that project from this particular group. Then you start the project. When you are working on the project, you are working with your team, you are working with your vendors, you are working with your other organization group like human resource, procurement, legal, quality. Everybody has some stake in the project. They are interested in ensuring that you are following compliance. The legal group is interested in knowing that you are not breaking any laws. The HR is involved in ensuring that they provide the right people at the right time to you, and you are taking care of their growth and everything. So there are a lot of people internally who are also a stakeholder to your project. Then you produce a deliverable. You can say, this is my deliverable, why don't you use it? Then deliverable goes to the market, it goes to the community. The people who use your deliverable, they also have an interest in your project. The community who might be directly or indirectly getting impacted because your deliverable coming in a mind in this space, the community may also impacted because of your project operations. The government agencies, regulatories, they may also get impacted because of your deliverable, or they may want to keep eye on what you are doing as a project execution. So you can see that your project may sit in a center, but it deals with lot of people. A lot of people have a kind of interest in what you guys are doing. Someone is putting money, someone is because of you getting negatively affected, someone is collaborating and producing something, someone is making money out of your project, like your vendor and all, but they all want your project to succeed or do something. Yeah? Your vendor will also lose money if your project get interrupted in between. So all these people, it's a big list, we call them stakeholders. So anyone who is interested, who perceived to be impacted by your project, is the stakeholder. And you can see the complication attached because the number could be big for a project manager, and also the stakes, the people who have a high stake may need to be taken care well, else the project viability also may comes into the picture. So that's the first thing we can say, who are the stakeholders. Now, PMP exam perspective point, the term stakeholder, by default, assumes a bigger community. You can say that anyone who is impacted by your project is the stakeholder. But inside that, you have a core group who is your project team. So project team, technically speaking, is also a stakeholder. Yeah? So you can say, yeah, should I call them project team or should I call them stakeholder? And the big group is the complete stakeholder. There could be internal stakeholder, there could be external stakeholder, but everybody is stakeholder. There are people. So usually when you are dealing with the PMP exam question, when the question is specifically talking about project team, they will usually mention project team. Usually. Whenever they are mentioning stakeholder, you need to be a little conscious in reading the question, because it might mean the bigger group, yeah, or it might mean only the people beyond project team. Yeah. Usually in a general conversation, when we use the word stakeholders, we talk about those individuals who are beyond project team, because for project team, we just say project team. But you need to be a little careful because the technical definition assumes everyone, including project team, project manager, sponsor, everyone is a part of a bigger stakeholder group. So I need to be careful what is the meaning of a stakeholder when I'm reading the question. I need to evaluate from both the perspective. Is it a superset, or they are only talking about the people beyond the project team? So this is like a first point, that okay, we understand who are the stakeholders, and we see that okay, the project is happening in between. Now let's take task one by one. Evaluate stakeholder needs, evaluate engaged needs for the stakeholders. So say you may have a 200 people as an interested party, or maybe more than that, and you probably can't take care of everyone. And in a project management, our major job is, whenever we have a multiple line item, what do? You have a lot of issues, you have a lot of defects, you have a lot of open action item, you have a lot of tasks, whatever. Yeah, in a project management, my first action is categorize them, prioritize them. Yeah, that's what we do all the time for everything. And that is true for our stakeholders also. Whenever I have a big list, I need to categorize them and then prioritize them. That okay, what kind of, maybe this is a vendor group, this is a customer group, this is a senior management group, this is my team members group. I need to put categorization. Now, why do I do categorization? The way you do for your defects, the way you do for issues, the way you do for your risk, because the categorization makes you manage these things a little better. You can find out the respective people who can take care of one category well, and you don't have to worry about it. It makes things manageable. So we need to identify the, in a way, categorization of the stakeholder and prioritization of it. So how to do that? In general, you can say that I need to see how much is at a stake. So say you are developing a product, the product may get by the end users, but the end users are not bothered about that product. They don't know will that product will come to them, and they have not made a mind that they will use it or not. Many of us are also consumer of various products. Say now a company wants to make a carpooling app. We all are potential customers, but we are not bothered about it till the time I download that particular app in my phone. Yeah? So they can't come and says, guys, we want to talk to you. Probably, yeah, they can't. And so they need to understand, maybe not the end user as of now, but someone who has an insight about customer behavior could be my stakeholder, and that person might be interested in giving us feedback. Why he's interested in giving feedback? Probably we hire him as a consultant. That's a possibility. Or that could be the person who is funding this idea and saying, I will make money by this particular carpooling app. So I need to understand the interest, ownership, knowledge, contribution of these people in the project, so that I can deal with them differently. I can engage with them differently. And one of the tool for PMP exam as well as for general purpose is a power interest grid. So what is that? It is a simple tool. Whenever you see a question, probably if you work with the power and interest, you can find out what you should do with the stakeholder. So it's a 2 by 2 matrix. One side you have a power, one side you have an interest. You can say low power, low interest, high interest, low interest, low power, or high interest. So this is like a 2 by 2 matrix. So people who have a high power and high interest probably will come into this segment. Now, it could be a role, it could be a category of individuals, and they are something which needs to be managed very, very closely. So you will see this information in your theoretical book also, that high power, high interest, manage closely. But you may wonder, what is the meaning of manage closely? We will discuss that. We'll go beyond the books, beyond your theoretical exams content, which you might have been seeing in various classes. So we understand the people who are high in stake, high in interest. So someone who is funding this particular initiative, he says, I really I'm putting my money here, so definitely I'm interested, and I can stop putting my money here, then definitely I am powerful. So that guy is definitely a powerful. Someone can stop the whole operation of your project. So we can say manage. We need to take care of those stakeholders very, very carefully. Then there could be people who might have high power, but they don't have much interest. So say some senior director in my organization, powerful guy, if he feels that we guys are doing wrong, he can speak in the review meeting and get our project in trouble. Maybe funding for future milestone will get stopped. But he is in a different department, not worried about what we guys are doing on a daily basis, but he's a powerful guy. So generally what is told is that we need to keep that guy informed in a way. You need to keep satisfied, not informed, keep satisfied, keep this guy satisfied, because if he is not satisfied, he or she can get the project closed, but I am not too much interested in it. Yeah, so just make sure that I get a feeling, yeah, that you guys are doing the right job. Yeah, that's the thing. And if I am clear that you guys are doing the right job, I'm okay. Yeah, I don't bother you that much. So how do I keep them satisfied? We'll talk once I finish this grid. Then we have low power, low interest. I just monitor them. I will see that in case this guy moves from here to here or here to here, I need to do something about it. Now, these positions in the quadrant is also not permanent. Yeah? So say I am a plant manager. may not be interested when you are working on a product. But once the product is going inside my plant for implementation, I'm too much interested in doing what you guys are doing. And I'm also powerful. So I might be coming from here to here as soon as the product goes to the to my territory or my area. So these positions are not permanent. Yeah, the people will keep moving from one place to another place. That's another important thing you need to remember for your PMP exam. The people who are high in interest but no power, you need to keep them informed, like your team members. So let's go with these four elements and understand what does it mean. So what is the meaning of manage closely? So say you may get a question in your PMP exam. They will talk about there is a one stakeholder who has this, who has this, who has this. What would be the best way to handle him? So what you need to do, you need to convert that description into power and interest grid. Okay, am I getting a sense that this guy is powerful based on the description, or am I getting a sense that about his interest? If I get both, I can put him into a manage closely. Now, what is the meaning of manage closely? Manage closely means we give them more rich communication. I go to them and give them the information all the time. It's not like I send an email and say, you can read your email and think about the project. I will ask more face-to-face time with them. I will discuss with all the critical decisions with them. If we need more money, if we want to take some technical challenges, we will discuss them very, very closely. Whenever we are doing requirement exploration, whenever we are doing milestone reviews, we need to make sure that these people are involved. Yeah, because these people should be getting the right information in a most interactive manner, and they should be aware about all the critical decisions we are making. We can definitely have a working agreement to identify how much level deep they want to, but I as a project manager focus on the maximum best communication technique with them. So if you have to choose a communication style, the push communication, pull communication, and interactive communication. With the manage closely group, you do interactive communication. Yeah, that's the thing. Now, keep satisfied group may not be available to attend your meetings. Yeah, but you need to probably send them some information periodically. So I might do a push communication, and at a little bit less frequent level, I am inviting them to some of the reviews, and I'm always available to provide the update to them. So if I have a stakeholder who falls here and he gives me a call that I want to discuss about the project, I will go and discuss it face to face rather than saying I will give you an email. So I have a communication and working agreement with them that you can call us whenever you want, and at what frequency we can send you the report so that you know what is happening. So we send a kind of a push communication and be available for interactive communication to that person. So that's a keep satisfied. Now monitor, we don't do anything. Yeah, probably we just say that in case you have any specific thing, we'll see. But as of now, we are not doing any particular engagement with them. Keep informed is something like we need to give them a lot of information. Yeah, but because these are the people who want to know what should I do tomorrow, what should we do next, where we are stuck. These are team members, vendors. They need to have a lot of information about our project. So I need to create more like an information radiator, that pull communication for them. You can say, guys, for you this is a project schedule, this is your Kanban board. You guys keep looking at this Kanban board and figuring out what we have to do. We need to do more periodic, frequent meetings, small meetings like a daily stand-up, status meeting in case of our traditional project management. So keep informed group should get more detailed information. Like if I'm making a work breakdown structure, I need to share work breakdown structure with the keep informed people. I should not be sharing the details of the work breakdown structure to keep satisfied or manage closely people. Keep satisfied and manage closely people will need a milestone level details. They will get a high level information. But if I want to get a action done tomorrow as a team member, I need to know the details. So WBS is meant for keep informed. The sprint planning is meant for keep informed. The Kanban board is meant for primarily for keep informed. Other people can also see it, but my main audience is people who have to do day-to-day work. They should get all the information. So this is like 2 or 3 questions we'll trap into this area for this particular topic, where you need to judge where the stakeholder fits and what kind of engagement needs they might have, and how are you going to satisfy those engagement need may come from your power interest grid. So evaluate engagement needs of the stakeholder. You can have now how do you see their interest? You can do interview, you can do an analysis of the previous artifacts like the previous explanation here. So all these things you can say, guys, this all information will have a people name. So I look at all these things. So I look at all this data, whatever my organization assets, what is my organization standards tells me. I probably have a kickoff meeting to understand what people need. So identifying interest and ownership and knowledge and power is also not a straightforward thing. It's not like you get a list that these people are highly interested. You don't get it. You need to evaluate it, and that is where your soft skill will play a role. You look at interviews, you look at a documentation, you talk to your senior people who are designated as a contributor in your project charter. You look at the history of other projects, and based on that you find out who is sitting there and what should I do to interact with them. So evaluate, engage with the stakeholders. So that's the first section we want to discuss here. Now optimize the second subtask. Optimize alignment between stakeholder needs, expectations, and project objective. So many times as a project manager, you might have faced stakeholder keep asking something and your project is not expected to deliver that. And there is always a conflict. And I am struggling as a project manager. What should I do? People are just confusing me. That's an opportunity for you to figure it out. How should I manage this thing? Because that is expected. Yeah? And that's why we have a task as a project manager. We need to align the stakeholder needs and expectation in the project objective. Someone can start expecting anything, but I need to see, is it something falling under my project boundary? Like someone may say, we need to put a superior quality material here, but my project is saying we don't have a money for that material. Then I am in an issue. I don't have a budget. But one stakeholder is pushing for a superior quality material, then I need to handle that. Yeah, that is something as a project manager I need to find out. So this is your task. You need to optimize and always keep an alignment between stakeholder needs and expectation and the project objective. So how do we start? So we can say the work starts from the beginning as a project manager, and this is something coming in the task also, some other task as a business one. I need to build share understanding about the project value. If here I am missing, I need to correct that. So if I say that there are stakeholder and we don't know what we are trying to do together, nobody has an agreement on the whole project objective itself, then I am in a big trouble. Yeah. Because when we don't know what we are doing together as a group, are we making a say low cost product or we are making high cost product? If you don't have an agreement with it, then the stakeholder will keep fighting. Someone will keep recommending expensive material because they believe that's a more reliable one, and we have a budget for the poor material, or say less expensive one. So we need to have a clear understanding of what is our project value, our project charter, our business case, our initial benefit management plan. In case of we are coming from business reasons, plays a critical role. In case we are working the project against the contract, your initial contract which you have made plays a critical role. So as a project manager, my job starts when we are doing initial kickoff meeting, that guys, this is what we are trying to do. If you have a difference of opinion, let's resolve it before we move forward. Even at the beginning, at a goal and value level, I'm not talking about the scope and requirement level. It is just at the goal kickoff meeting, we should have an agreement. The values, the say success criteria for the project should be agreed in advance. Constraints should be agreed in advance. So that's something I need to do as a project manager. Then let's see the two path, the adaptive life cycle path and predictive life cycle path. How do we take this further? We can say, okay, in a predictive life cycle, I need to involve my stakeholders. How do I make the alignment? So I involve the people into requirement gathering, requirement workshops, and other things. I work with them to create the scope statement. I create work breakdown structure with them. I work with them to get the scope, schedule, and other things baseline. Because when we have a baseline, it is an agreement. You have a stakeholder who have agreed upon that, yes, guys, this is what we want to achieve. So as a predictive lifecycle process, I will do engaged requirement work and I will reach to the baseline and I will involve all the powerful and relevant stakeholder for the baseline. And going forward, we can keep referring baseline for our references. So I start with a shared understanding or at a value level, and then I need to convert that into my project management plan, which ensures the complete alignment. Now, making a project management plan and baseline is not the only thing. I need to continuously keep sending them reviews and reports. So on a frequent basis, as a project, we need to communicate. We need to tell where we are, what is working, what is not working, where we are doing against the baselining. We have a lot of variances. So I need to keep them updated about it and keep listening to their new ideas as well. Critically, some of the key stakeholders may involve more in a milestone reviews. So we need to continuously do milestone reviews to ensure that we have a common understanding of what we are doing. In order to ensure that we are not derailing from our baseline, I need to put a change control in place. Yeah. So whenever someone needs something, I need to say, okay, great idea, but I think we need to ensure that it is matching with our project objective. We need to ensure that it is matching with the agreement which we had with the baseline. So we put a proper change control in place to ensure that we remain aligned with the stakeholder as well as the project objective. And I need to ensure that as soon as my deliverables are ready, I take them so that my people can check it and validate it. So continuous validation of scope. Some of the ideas, you can have more, but these are the ideas which we'll have in the predictive life cycle to ensuring alignment between stakeholder needs, expectations, and the project objective. So that's something you do. Now, for the adaptive life cycle, you have to involve your right stakeholder in a backlog refinement. You need to have a roadmap understanding, agreement on the vision and the roadmap, creating a release plan so that we have an alignment what we are trying to do together, identifying the minimum viable products and minimum business increments and pushing those releases on a frequent basis to understand how we are doing. Taking feedback on them is the another alignment process. Your iteration review or a sprint review is the another important tool for ensuring continuous alignment. Because unlike predictive life cycle, we don't have a baseline, but we have an engagement. We need to do a continuous engagement. So I need to identify right people attending my refinement meeting. I need to ensure the right people are present in my iteration review meeting. And I need to ensure that whenever they have an idea, either they agree or disagree during iteration review and refinement process, they give their feedback to an appropriate group who is doing backlog refinement, maybe led by product owner. And continuous prioritizations and the release plan update and the roadmap update are shared with these set of stakeholders. Whenever we put the product in the market, either MVP or MBIs, we need to ensure that we learn back from them, we share with the stakeholders, and those stakeholders are aligning, because the feedback loop is small. The adaptive life cycle, the key of alignment is continuous discussion and quick feedback. Continuous discussion and quick feedback. So I need to ensure the continuous discussion and quick feedback is happening all the time. So that's something I do when I'm dealing with the adaptive way of working. So there are some tools so that you get an idea. Okay, how do I align? Because see, your question will not come from a one domain alone. You need to see the whole topic in an integrated manner. So all these words will start making sense when you have a basic understanding of the whole PMP content, and that's the objective. Here we are saying that additionally, this is how you can probably learn and say, okay, this is how I will align with my stakeholder. Now, one of the important thing which will be relevant for predictive as well as adaptive is a proactive conflict management. Yeah. So there will be issues, there will be a difference of opinion all the time. Yeah? And if that is not there, then either your stakeholders are not engaged, yeah, or they, like, in a way, they don't care what we are doing. So if you have engaged stakeholders, there is going to be a value conflict, there is going to be a prioritization conflict. And as a project manager, I need to deal with that conflict proactively. And I need to make sure that these conflicts are helping us in improving our alignment, yeah? Improving our understanding of needs and expectations and alignment of project objective. Whenever people are asking two things, we resolve the conflict in such a way so that we ensure the project objective and stakeholder expectations are aligned. So the whole idea is not necessarily always doing what stakeholder tells, but basically meeting their expectation. And in order to meet their expectation, you need to set the expectation. So as a project manager, I have my project charter, I have my project goal, I have my roadmap at place, and I need to ensure this is what I'm trying to do. This is something you are trying to say to me. Let's figure it out, and we need to agree on this is where we are going. So we set the expectation and we ensure that those alignment remains continue. So that's your subtask. If you keep this in mind, good number of your people domain questions will start looking easy to you. Yeah, so that's a second thing. Now this is a tool rather than a direct task, and this tool is basically, we call it stakeholder engagement assessment matrix. It tells that you can put the stakeholder numbers. That they usually recommend not to put the name because it's a risky tool. People may not want to get identified as. So you can say there is a one stakeholder. You want to understand where he is currently, yeah, and where I want to take him. So we usually put C and say the current state and the target state or future state, desired state, whatever word you use. And if there is a gap between current state and desired state, how I am going to meet that, how I am going to breach that. So usually in my experience, we hardly document it. We usually have informal communication, conversation between key stakeholder and the project manager, especially when it comes to the external stakeholders. And we try to identify which particular person or a group, where they stand, and what kind of engagement strategies we should apply so that we bring them to a desired level. Sometimes we may have a guy who is currently at a leading level, but we want to bring him to a neutral level. Says this guy need to be to isolate it, because we will get carried away and we will lose our project objective if we carried away from this particular guy. So stakeholder engagement assessment matrix, whenever you see the word in your exam, you can see it that it's a tool to understand the current engagement level of the stakeholders and identifying, and it also gives a tool to talk about what should be the desired engagement level. And it triggers the assessment matrix does not contain that information on its own, but it triggers the conversation and understanding so that we can come up with a stakeholder engagement plan to take care of the stakeholder engagement. So we can come up with the engagement strategy, which takes us to the next level. So that's a stakeholder engagement matrix. Now, final subtask, and then we close this topic, is about build trust and influence stakeholders to accomplish project objectives. So my personal feeling is this is the most important job of the project manager. Many times I see project managers sharing, I am trying to do, but nobody is supporting me. Looks like we are already wrong there. So say you should be supported by a lot of people. If you are not supported by a lot of people, Either you are working on something which doesn't matter, an organization has too much money and nobody cares about you, or the people who cares is little bit stuck somewhere, and you are dealing with some people who does not care for this particular stuff. So we need to identify a right group and need to work with them and need to create a trust so that they can provide us all necessary support. But this is a nice thing: build trust and influence stakeholder to accomplish project objective. Now, in the question as well as the tips, what should I do as a project manager? So some ideas I am sharing which will be useful for your day-to-day project management as well, but definitely for the PMP exam. So trust is too much linked by transparency. If you don't tell where we are heading towards, what kind of risk we have, and stakeholder keeps getting surprises, they will not trust you. Yeah. If you tell them we are on track, and by the time you reach to that date, you realize that you were far off track, this is going to breach the whole trust. Yeah. So you need to be transparent by way of your reviews, iteration reviews about the complete information, sharing the risk and status, depending upon your working agreement. It's not like that you have to push all the information to your stakeholders, but as we have agreed upon, all those expectations of the communication should be happening on a right time, and which makes people comfortable that they know what they are expected to know. That something is there. You need to engage and be open with the stakeholders, which means you need to invite them, yeah, and share information. You need to encourage them to ask questions. If you are saying no, milestone review will happen there and then you will get the information, and before that don't disturb us, then you are not open enough. Meetings in the project management world, you will find meetings as a tool in your inbox content very frequently. It's a good tool, it's an engagement tool, it's a facilitation tool. So you facilitate meetings in such a way so that people get engaged. You need to facilitate meeting in the right way, and if you don't start on time, if you don't finish on time, then you are not engaging the people. So that's the thing. Meet their expectation. Yeah. So how do you meet their expectation? By setting the expectation. I trust someone who really do what he's expected to do. So I need to have a continuous conversation. I send the report when I am expected to send the report. We meet our milestones when we are expected to meet our milestones. And by delivering things, by meeting our agreement, we create trust. So that's something, another important area. Adapt to the stakeholder style. Some people are formal, some people are informal. I need to deal with the people matching their style so they feel more comfortable with that. Have a clear understanding of the business objective. You yourself, if you yourself does not understand what this project is trying to do, that's why the business domain is very importantly added by PMI for your PMP exam. Then how do you bring engagement for your from your stakeholder? I find many times that's a real problem. The project managers are unable to speak business language, they are unable to understand what the stakeholders are speaking, and since they are speaking different language, you find stakeholders disengaged with the whole project conversation. So you need to ensure that your team, you speak the desired business language which matches it. You need to develop informal connections. Yeah. So spend time other than formal times as that. And it is more about promoting networking between stakeholders and team. So finding some opportunities where you can discuss things beyond work. Now, the whole idea is when you have an informal connect, you make the conversation light and people are more willing to talk to you. So that's the whole idea here. You need to ensure that you apply emotional intelligence, you listen to them, apply empathetic view. So that's a nice way of dealing with your stakeholders. Resolve conflicts in a very, very constructive manner. We spoke about it in a previous slide. And you also need to develop your stakeholders, train them, mentor them, coach them related to your project related objectives. So continuously working with the stakeholders, taking care of them, and then they start trusting you as much as possible.